Hello and welcome to another video. So in this video, I'm going to be walking through the general steps that a programmer goes through while writing code. My assumption is that you've already watched my CLI and or my compilation video beforehand. So if you haven't done that yet and you're brand new to programming, like this is going to be your first programming class, you might want to watch those first before you jump further into this video. So basically, this video is meant to be like a practical guide as opposed to being more theoretical like some of those other videos were. So I'm just going to show you kind of the mechanics that a programmer goes through every time they're writing code. And this is absolutely how a professional software developer does it. So I'm going to write down the steps and then we're just going to walk through those steps to show you how to do it. So here we go. I call it the programming flow. So step one when you're writing code is you're going to create a file to write the code, right? Step two, we're going to write code in the file using a text editor. Step three, I'm going to save the code, save code updates to the file. And then step four, we're going to compile the code to generate executable. This is only for compiled languages. Right? So if you're running an interpreter, then you wouldn't have to do that particular step. And then you're going to run the executable to confirm that it works correctly. And then the last step is really just repeat. We're going to repeat steps 2 through 5 until the program is complete. Right? And that's pretty much it. Like those are the steps. Now obviously these are very generic and there's a lot of stuff that goes into writing code and research and blah blah blah, but when it comes down to it, like these are the steps you're doing when you write a program. You're going to make a file or files, I suppose, and you're going to just run through this. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it without any fancy text editor. I'm going to do it in the most generic possible way so that nobody thinks that this is something where you have to have VS Code or you have to have Sublime or you have to have Atom or you have to have all these tools or whatever. I mean, you really only need two things, and those two things are a text editor and the command line, really. So here we go. I'm going to close that down, and the first thing I'm going to do here, I'll zoom in a little so you can see how silly this is going to be. I'm going to say new folder. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it my program. Okay, so there's my folder called my program, and I'm only doing that because it's always a good idea to put, for organization purposes, I would highly encourage you to put your code in a folder. So let's open the folder. And here's a folder. Isn't that great? Now I'm going to say new text document, right? And then I'm going to say this program is going to be called program, something really easy. Program, and then I'm going to write this in Go. So here's program.go. Oh, and then it's going to warn me, hey, are you sure you want to change the name of this? I sure am. Okay, so there it is. So at this point, I have pretty much done the first step. I have created a file to write the code. Okay, so that was the first thing you had to do. Right now, next step. Next step was to write some code. So I'm going to use like the most generic of things in Microsoft land. I'm going to open this with Notepad. Okay, so it's going to come over here. So here's Notepad, right, in all of its magical Notepad-y glory, right? And this is actually where I'm going to write all my code. For this, it's a Go program. Here, I'll zoom in a little so you can see this, and I'm just showing you, like, you don't have to have a nice text editor. This is the most boring text editor that you get with Microsoft, and Mac and Linux have their equivalent of Notepad. So I'm going to say package main. Oh God, I don't want to do this with the zoom in. Sorry, you're gonna have to watch me do it in tiny vision, I guess. Oh, actually, here, this will be better. I'll make that a little bigger. There you go. Now you can just see what I'm doing. Import FMT, and then func main. In fact, here, you know what I'll do? I'll even do this with an error in here. You see, you can catch the error. FMT.println hello, my awesome program. All right, it's my awesome program. There it is. Okay, and then I'm gonna put a little problem in here. I'm going to make that a lowercase, so that's there. Hit save. So there it is. So now I think I've done step 2. I wrote some code using a text editor, right? And then I saved, right? And the way that you can tell that I saved was if you're in Notepad, and almost every text editor has this, even crummy Notepad has it. Every time I make a little change here, you can see right there. There's this little star that shows up right there, and that's telling you that you haven't saved yet. Like the last thing you did wasn't saved. So I'm gonna make some changes. Now I'm gonna hit Control S, or actually you can just here, if you hit Control S, you can see there's a little, it'll save it, and look, the little star thing went away. So there, now it's saved. I've done it. So now I've even done step 3, which was save the code to the file. So I have written the code. I've saved the code to the file. So the next step is to compile. In this example, I'm using Notepad. I'm going to use PowerShell. So I already have PowerShell open. So here's PowerShell. I'm on the desktop. All right. So obviously, this is not the desktop. I'm in this thing called My Program. So I'm going to say cd my program. Okay, so here we are. I'll clear all that junk. And now let's go ahead and run it. So I'm going to say go build, and then what did I call my program? Program. Boom. I'm going to compile it. And looky there, I have a problem now. Right. So here's my code. Here, I'll try to make this really easy to kind of follow along with, hopefully. So here I am. I wrote some code, and then I tried to compile it, and then I had a problem. So I cannot refer to unexported name FMT println. It doesn't know what this thing is, and that's because I put a lowercase p there. Make it an uppercase P, but here, then maybe I'll add another problem. Let's oh, I don't know. Let's make this something that's clearly doesn't exist. Here, Control F, Control S now. Now I saved it with a different problem. So now we'll run it again. And oh, look, we got a whole other problem now. It doesn't know what this FMFT is, right? So now I got to go fix that problem, right? Fix that problem. Let's say maybe I don't know, var x int, right? And Go's not going to like that because I'm not using the variable, so I think it'll complain again. X declared but never used. So this is the back and forth nature that you'll do, is that you'll write code. So hopefully you're seeing what's happening here. I'm writing code, and then I'm running the code, or I'm attempting to compile the code, right? Doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this. I'm just jumping back and forth. Now let's actually have a working program. Let's say you wrote it perfectly, right? So now I've done all that. I've saved it. Here, I'm going to clear this out. All right, and let's run it. And oh, it's a thing of beauty. It worked, okay? Now, and the way you know that it worked is because there was no errors that popped out, right? And here's the thing that happened, right? If you look over here back in my program, you can see there's this thing now called program.exe. So that means it compiled successfully. So I have a program here now. So I could do ls here, and look there. There's program.exe. Awesome. So now let's just run it. Program.exe. And my awesome program. It works. Fantastic. So at that point, we have done run the executable to see if it works correctly. Right now, the way that most programmers work, though, is that you don't write the whole thing in one shot. You usually will write a little bit of it, and then you'll keep going, right? So here's what I'm going to say is that, like, let's say that was good, and I felt like, okay, that's great, but now it's time for me to add a little extra functionality. So then I come in here, and I'm going to add a little more. I'm going to say var x. I'm going to do this thing I did again. Is there, and then I'm going to say x is equal to 42, and then I'm going to say fmt print line x, right? I'm just going to print out the 42. That's all I did, right? So I wrote a little extra code, come back over here, try to build it. It built, so good. I got no problems there. And now try to run it, and there's my awesome program. So you're seeing, hopefully, what's happening here. The first time I ran it, I got to this point, and great. Then I knew I needed to add more stuff, so I had to write more code. Then I saved the updates, then I recompiled, and then I re-ran it. And then if I need to do more work, then I go back up to step 2 and I write some more. And this, you could do this. Like, there's nothing magical about doing it in a different kind of text editor. It's just this ping pong thing you do between writing code in your text editor and then running the code in your command prompt. Writing code, running code, writing code, running code. And this is what every programmer has to do to make until eventually you get to a point where you run your program, it does everything it's supposed to do, you feel good about it, and then you turn it in, or you pass it over to the Q&A team, or whatever it is you do in your role as a programmer, right? But that's sort of the process. So now that you kind of hopefully have a better feel for this, and hopefully I've taken away some of the magic of VS Code, Now it's easier to, I think, to explain how to do this in VS Code. So now I'm gonna minimize this. I'm gonna actually, yeah, I'll just close that. Right, and now I'm going to show you why I like VS Code. So as you can see, Notepad was very ugly to look at. There was nothing great about that. If you use VS Code, which you crack open like this, right? So we're going to go in here. You can see that exactly the same thing happened here, except that now look, I don't have to have a folder open. I can just see everything right here. In fact, let me make everything here a little bigger. That makes it a little easier to see. There we go. So here's over here on this left side, this is the folder. Just like how I had the folder actually open over here, right? Here's the folder with all that stuff, except it's all just showing here. So I don't have to have this folder open all the time, right? If I want to add another file, I have a little option to do that here. Here's the code for that file. So I don't have to, if I had another file here, another .txt, let's say, right? I can just flip back and forth between these two, and they just open up as tabs. So that's nice. So you can see that the syntax highlighting is there. So this is now a nice color blue. This is an orange. It makes it a little easier to kind of feel for how it all is supposed to work. You know, it looks nicer. It tells I'm in main right now. So there's lots of little bells and whistles you get. And then one of the nicest things, one of the things that I personally like about VS Code, is then you can go up here to terminal, new terminal, right? And then the CLI is right here baked into the editor itself. So I'm going to come up here, right? And now this time I'm going to break it again. I'm going to get rid of that. Here's another one. Look, when I do that, now because I have IntelliSense, I have some of the magic of this text editor. It's actually telling me right away, like, no, you got a problem here. But you can always confirm that by just trying to run it. So go build program, just like I did before. And look, there, it doesn't like it. It's telling me, it's giving me an error, right? And then I can fix it. Print line, and that should fix it, right? But now let's say I want to change what it says here. My super cool program, right? Save, and then run it, and boom, and there it is. I got a new program, and now if I want to run it, I can just say program.exe, and there it is, my super cool program. And now if I want to make changes, I come back up here, I add a few spaces, let's say, space, and then I run it again, or I build it again, I run it again, and now look, here's some extra spaces, right? And so now the back and forth is just between this up here and this down here, right? But it's the same thing I was doing before. I'm just doing it in a nicer environment, right? But there's nothing magical about VS Code. It's not like I have to have this tool to do this. You could do it with any editor you want. So anyways, that's really what I wanted to discuss. I wanted to show. This is the flow that I expect everybody to use in the class. And whatever tool set you're using, I'm not going to force you to use VS Code, or whatever you want to use is fine. The important thing here is that you understand what the process is, right? You're making a file, you're putting code in there, you're running the code, and you're just going to keep doing those steps. So thank you for watching. Hopefully this was informative, and happy coding.